Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm doing something slightly different. Well, I say slightly different, it's something I've never done before, so here we are. Anyway, a few of you have expressed interest in how I create my thumbnails and have asked me to do a tutorial. So here is that tutorial. Right, to start off with, you're going to want to create your canvas, I believe. So you go to new, if I can get there. And you want to set this for 1280 by 720. And then I always change the PPI to 300 by 300 because I think that's lossless then, I think. Right, so now you've got this, which is your background. So that's going to make up your thumbnail. And then what I tend to do then is put a background image in. So if we go to do that new, and it always open as layers, don't open. Always open as layers, yeah, because then that way it will come up in this section here and then you can edit it more easily. At the moment nothing's come up here, and the reason for that is because I did a screenshot and it's done it by 1080, so I need to rescale that. As you can see, 1920 by 1080, so I need to switch that or change that even to 1280 by 720, and we should, there we are, get the image. And then what I tend to do is I blur the background just so that it's not taken away from the text in the foreground. Really easy to do, so make sure the layer is selected there in your layers thingamajig, and then go to filters, blur, and then I always use Gaussian, however you pronounce that, blur. So I'm just going to go with 15 by 15, click OK, and there you can see it's giving you a nice blur, and then you're going to get your text and your images in the foreground are gonna stand out more. And then what we need to do is we need to do the text itself. You've got your toolbox here. Click on the text tool here. Oh yeah, I should probably say I'm using GIMP, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that or not. That would be handy. This is a great tutorial so far, isn't it? I'll put a link in the description where you can find GIMP. I'm not going to show you how to install it because that's a bit patronizing. So yeah, select your text tool and then just click anywhere there. Left click that is, and then you want to drag this, left click and drag, and give yourself enough room because obviously the text is going to be quite big. Click in there and then just start typing your text. Now what I tend to do, I do all my words as separate text layers, because then that way it just gives you a bit more room to like sort of move things around and all that. Right, so I don't like this this font because it's rubbish, and then what I use is, I think it's called Badaboom BB, which you can download from dafont.com or dafont.com, however you want to pronounce it. I sound like an idiot. Again, I'll put the link in the description. So yeah, I select that one, and then I want that to be much bigger, so we're going to say 200. So literally just click in there, make sure your text is selected when you do this, and then just put 200. There we are, that's a good size. This time got tutorial, and it should keep the same font that you used previously, and then move that. Yeah, you move using the select or the move tool, so you literally switch to that with your left mouse button, and then that will move, or it will allow you to move it thusly. And then we want to say what software we're using, so we're using GIMP. Yeah, GIMP is absolutely brilliant. It's completely free. Does the same thing that Photoshop does. Right, so now what I want to do is I don't want to keep this as black. I want to use the gradient that I usually use, like the white to yellow gradient that I usually use in my thumbnails. Very easy to do. So what you do next is, with your color scheme here, you've got your primary color and your secondary color. Very easy to do. Instead of just going into there and then selecting white and then selecting the yellow, literally click that button there and it swaps them. So now white is my primary and black at the moment is the secondary. Click on that, click on your color there. You can sort of choose around and go through all these kind of things to like really sort of pick out the color you want. Click OK, and you've got your colors set up then. Right, now what you do now, so we're going to take thumbnail, and you, in the layers section, right click and then go down to alpha to selection. And what that does is that will select around the text. If you don't do that, it's not going to do the gradient properly, so you need to do that. And then you want to click on the blend tool, which is this one here. Click on that, and then what that will do is that will create a blend of your two colors here. Generally what I do is you go over to your text, click and hold, and then pull down. I generally do down to about the bottom, and then just make sure that it's straight and there you go, you've got your gradient. Do exactly the same. Right, so now you want to move your stuff about. I'm pretty happy more or less with the location of the text, but I want to sort of make it sort of stand out a bit more, so I'm going to rotate it. Now what you do there is make sure your layer is selected, so click on the thumbnail bit and then go to the rotate, which is the rotate tool there. Once you've clicked on that, you click on your layer or the text and you get this little box. Now you can either do it with this little draggy droppy thing, but what I tend to do is use the box because you get a bit more precision. Highlight that and enter a number in angle. I tend to go for 7. You put in your number and then you have to press enter and then click rotate, and that will finalize the rotation. Now, when I'm lining my stuff up, what I tend to do is have like a little margin so that it's sort of perfectly lined up. And all you need to do is, you see the ruler there on the left hand side, and also it's on the top there. If you click and hold in there and then pull that along, you will get a little rule. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to move my text so that it lines up. And now we'll do the same for the next layer. And then we'll do the same for GIMP. And now to move this out of the way, just left click on it, or even, oh yep, there it is, it's gone. Yeah, left click and just move it out of the way. So that's the text, but what I like to do is put like a border around it. This bit is very important. You want to create a new layer. So to do that, go into your layers box, and at the bottom, or sort of halfway down, you've got create a new layer. So you want to left click that, and yep, so you've got that. And make sure it says transparency. Very important, make sure that transparency is selected and click OK. And you want to put this underneath all of your text in the layers. And then what you need to do is go to thumbnail, or go to, well, yeah, whatever your text says, right click, and then back down to alpha selection. And now what you do, right click anywhere in here, or you can click select, oh, the siren's going off, good lord. Right click, and then you go to select, and then you go down to grow. Left click that, and then you'll get this box. You enter a number, how much you want to grow it by. I generally do 7, that's a good little number. And then what that does is your selection, funny enough, will grow just like that. So now it's created like a little outline, and then what you need to do is you need to fill that in. So make sure that your new layer is selected. Very important, make sure that's selected because you want to fill in that layer. And then use your fill icon, like the little bucket tool, and then you change the color to whatever you want. I use black because it just helps to make it stand out. And then with that layer selected, basically just click anywhere, and then it does that. Easy as that, really. So far we have got the background image, which is slightly out of focus, it's blurred. You've got the text, got the gradient, and now we've got the outline for the text. Now what I generally tend to do is just put a random image into it, just to give it a bit more of a pop. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the GIMP logo. So if you go to File, again, Open as Layers, Desktop, GIMP logo, Open. When you are using images like this, you're always going to want to use images with transparent backgrounds. These are always PNG files. You don't want JPEGs, you want PNG. I generally tend to just Google, say for instance with this, GIMP logo transparent. And more often than not, when you do this, it will give you transparent options, or the PNG files. And you can always tell when you look at the image through Google, it will have a checkered white and grey background, like a chessboard. That way you can tell that it has no background, so then you can just put it into GIMP straight away like this and it'll be all good. If you're not able to find a transparent background, you can always remove the background. If that's something that you'd like to see how's done, oh, my English is amazing. If you'd like to see how to do something like that, let me know in the comments, and then I might do I'll do a separate tutorial if you guys want it. But anyway, so we've got our image and we want to make it a bit bigger, I think. So you want to click on the scale tool, click on the image, and then you get this little box. Now make sure these two links are connected. You can just left click to connect them. If they're not connected, it will literally resize the image by whatever point you're dragging it, and it will stretch the image. So yeah, make sure that that is connected, and then that way when you resize it, it will maintain its perspective, its aspect. I can't think of the word, you know what I mean though. So we've got that there, and I think what I want to do is I want to rotate that. So again, we'll go into that, and for this I'm not really fussed about the number. We should be able to just play about with it. I think that looks pretty good. I might just move it a little bit. Now again, what I tend to do with these images is I will give them their own little background, much like much like I did with the text. I'm going to give this its own little background. So before we get going, once again, we want to create a new layer, just like we did with this one, because it's the same principle. So once again, we click on this, the create new layer, left click there, and make sure that's all like that, and make sure on transparency, and click OK. And now we've got our new layer, and then we want to drag that down. So left click and drag that down to underneath our logo here. And then what we do, so same again, right click, alpha to selection, and then once we've got that, you see the outline there. Right click again, select, and we're going to grow again. So click grow, and now I tend to do 10 for these, so slightly bigger than the text. Click OK, and now we've got our grown, the border is grown. And what we want to do, once again, is fill in, much like we did there. So choose your colour. I'm going to use red for this. And you click OK. And then back to your bucket fill tool. Left click on that. Make sure that the background layer again is selected. And then we're going to fill that in. Just like that. Now, I could leave it like that, but I think it always looks better with a bit of a blur. So what I'm going to do is blur this layer, this outline, so it's going to give it more of a glow. Now before you do this, make sure that you have deselected your selection here, because if you don't, the blur will only go up to the edge of your selection. So basically what will happen is it will glow or blur it to a point, and then it will just stop dead right there. So right click, select, and none. And then again, make sure that layer is selected, and we go to filters. Now, if you've already used the blur, which we have, you can always just do repeat Gaussian or blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Hello, that was fun, wasn't it? But because I want to give it more of a blur, we're going to go back into it. So down to blur, Gaussian blur, I guess. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it. So left click, and then we want to change this to, I generally do 25, which is my go-to number for this. And there you go, you've got 25 by 25, click OK, there we are. So it's created that little glow, which is always fun, it's always nice. And that is pretty much it. I mean, we look at that now, so we've got our background, which is slightly blurred out, we've got the text there with the gradient and the outline, and then we've got our supporting image, and then we've given it an outline, but given it more of a glow as opposed to like a solid outline. And that is pretty much it. So at which point you want to export it. So you go to File, and then down to Export As, and then we're just gonna put this on the desktop. Thumbnail tutorial GIMP, and then choose where you want to export it to. Export. And then this will come up. I generally just leave this all as is. Click export. And then that should be, let's get OBS out of the way. Yeah, so there is your thumbnail. All done. And that is all ready to upload to YouTube. Obviously the image here is a bit blurry because the original size of the image is a bit blurry. No, it was a small size. So generally, rule of thumb when trying to find images is to try and find the highest resolution, and then that will give you a bit more leeway when you're rescaling it. But this should be fine because obviously thumbnails are pretty small. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. I hope that's been helpful. Let me know if there's anything that I've missed, if I've gone over or anything, because usually when I do these thumbnails, I'm on autopilot when I do them. But let me know if there's anything that you want me to focus on in particular. And like I said, let me know if you want me to do a tutorial on removing backgrounds from images, and then I'll do that in a future video. But anyway, guys, that'll about do it. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, and if you have liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. That'll be lovely. Thank you very much. And I'll see you in the next one.